Hello, everybody. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Welcome to conversation number 6. So this is week 6. Yeah, I think we've had quite a few quite healing conversations, and yeah, thank you for your contribution up until now. I think today we've had some people that have had to kind of deal with different priorities just inadvertently that have come up quite quickly. So today you have the 3 screens that you see. We welcome all comments and feedback and input from anybody watching our live feed. Also, any questions that you might have that you believe we can answer, or even if you have an answer to contribute to our conversation, we welcome that as well. So to kick off, I'm Granville Campbell. I've been part of Twin Flames Universe, I think, since the middle of 2017 or just before then. So yeah, it's really good to be here and to have this conversation with everybody. So welcome everybody. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourselves just for the new people that haven't been part of the conversation yet and haven't actually been introduced to you?
Right, sure. I'm Anastasia.
And I'm Ray. And we're Twin Flames in Harmonious Union. Stasia's been with, how long have you been with TFU in the church?
A long time.
A long time. It's like been 4 years, I think. I've been 2 years. So, yeah, we're really excited to be here and speak about Black Lives Matter. It's something we're really passionate about.
Hey, I'm Doreen, and I've been a student of TFS for a year now, like just over a year. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and have this discussion about Black Lives Matter and actually bring my point of view into a discussion and compare it with you guys and, heal.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So yeah, I think one of the things that we kind of touched on that we think is a good topic to go into as the next layer of our conversation is around education and possibly things that happen in the education system or through the education system that also touch on the topic of Black lives and why we need to address why Black Lives Matter, and also why we need to address the healing of some of that wealth consciousness, the wealth inequality consciousness, the struggle, the illusion of struggle. Because yeah, I think it does. It's a foundational piece for the majority of us, unless you haven't gone through a schooling system. And it does form quite a significant component of your core.
Yeah.
And because you're in a learning phase, you tend to kind of absorb those lessons a lot more than you would have if it was just a passing experience, because this kind of becomes a lot more of your reality. So one of the things we did talk about was how schools were in the past segregated and whether or not that influenced how, our perception of wealth and wealth inequality and our consciousness of learning and kind of the illusion that things are a struggle because of the separation of a schooling system and the power inequality in terms of where certain schools have the resources that other schools don't have and those kind of things. So there's a big narrative around this conversation of why Black Lives Matter, specifically centered inside of education. And I think one of the things that we touched on a while ago was that the narrative that gets taught to us through the schooling system also creates that kind of imbalance, if we want to call it that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
What, like the two
Like,
different
just in-
schools?
yeah, the
'Cause
two
I went to
schools.
two different schools.
Yeah.
And one was like, Black people were like the minority, and the other one, it was like predominantly Black.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to both of these schools.
Yeah.
And the first school was better, where I was like the minority.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one wasn't as good. Like, they didn't even have like orchestra class, and obviously that really
That was hard
wasn't
on
good
you.
for me.
Yeah.
So what specifically do we
Yeah.
want to touch
Yeah.
on?
No. Like. So just what like. So you went to this school. Growing up, that was predominantly a white school.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of money being put into that school.
Mm-hmm.
The school itself, the teachers were really good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And the books were good too.
What was your experience when you were there at that school?
As far as like
Like,
learning.
did you feel supported? How was
Yeah,
your
I
learning
mean, it was a good
experience?
school.
Yeah.
I didn't like the kids though.
Okay, yeah. What was your experience with the kids in the school?
They were like, I don't know, snobby.
Snobby, okay.
I mean, I did get along with most people, right?
Right.
Just in general. But I
Right.
mean, like, there was like some sort of
Yeah, this like,
vibe.
yeah, like I'm better than you sort of feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that part of yourself that feels
Oh, okay.
like she's
Worse off.
worse off and not good enough?
Not good enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does she need to feel loved right now?
Just acceptance.
You choose to
And
accept
love.
her?
Yes.
Yeah. How does she feel now?
A lot better.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what were those kids showing her?
Love herself.
Yeah.
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 That's how it always is.
Yeah.
With everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you went to the next school
Yes.
afterwards, and that school you weren't the minority anymore. You were the
No.
majority.
Right.
Yeah. What was your experience in that school like?
I mean, I guess it was also pretty bad because, like, the books weren't as new, so they were, like, kind of, like, harder to understand. Or they
Right.
weren't, like, as clean as, like,
Right.
the other school, I guess, is what I'm saying. So I guess I didn't feel supported.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to go to this part of yourself that feels like
Not
she's not supported? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does she need to feel loved right now?
I'm just going to give her my support.
Yeah. What would she have needed in that moment at that school? What is it that she really desired? Love. Yeah. Yeah. Can you bring that to her at that school at that time?
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
It was good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, and like, what was the school showing her? Like, what was the school like representing for her in her journey, on your journey?
And I needed to listen to God. Is that?
Claim your support, right?
Yeah.
And what did you end up claiming your support? What did you end up doing when you were in that school?
Oh yeah, because I moved on to cyber school.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And did cyber school.
Yeah. What is your feeling around like your like other classmates in that school and like their experience? Like not everybody ended up claiming their support and going and doing cyber school. Like, what
Well,
was
I mean,
your
I'm
feelings?
sure some people were all right with it, I guess, or
Yeah.
liked going to that school, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So it wasn't like all bad.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you think that like those kids didn't know like that they were missing orchestra?
I mean, yeah, that's probably definitely like
Yeah.
some kids probably were.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of smart like kids like in my physics class or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. What do you guys how was your experience with that? Anybody in the comments, like what have you guys experienced, or how did you feel during that conversation or healing?
So, I think one of the things that has come up for me, because again, it goes back to your experience. And so for me, like I went to a segregated school.
Wow.
So I did. So, and it wasn't even, I can't even tell you that it was because we weren't allowed to mix in schools. Because at that time, from what I can remember, schools had started to be integrated. Because in South Africa, we had the system of apartheid. And so things were separate. But that changed quite a while ago. So by the time I went to school, I went to a school that was predominantly for people of my race. That's because my mother chose to send me there. It wasn't that she couldn't send me. Well, I suppose from a financial point of view, she may not have been able to send me to a different school. So she went to that school. So yeah, like it was, I think that the experience of growing up with people like me. But then you have to, like I have to put, I like kind of view a little of a perspective of what colored South African people actually are. Because generally it's quite mixed. So every single one of us on the screen right now could actually be a picture of a colored South African person. Because you have the extreme of the very fair to the extreme of the very dark colored skin. And then classified in this folder of colored people.
Right. Yeah, it's like genres in music, kind of.
Yes, and so that's it, because of the very mixed background of that middle layer of people, they were classified as colored. And in South Africa, Asian people, specifically Chinese people, were also classified as colored and not Caucasian.
Oh.
Yeah, so there was it's a very different dynamic. So in South Africa, you wouldn't have the concept of Latino or African American or anything like that. The fairer your skin were, you were just classified as Caucasian, unless of course there was a surname attached to it or some other level of value judgment. So yeah, so like my experience of people in general was just that mixed bag of people that I grew up with. And so going to school with very similar people didn't actually feel odd to me, because there was such a range of people. And then, I mean, the only time I actually really started to pay attention to it was when I was older, and that was when I was at university. But then also the education system had also kind of leveled out. So you then succeeded based on merit. So I don't feel like I ever really got an opportunity because of the color of my skin, or denied an opportunity because the color of my skin from an educational point of view.
Sure.
So that's kind of some of the things that make me feel like sometimes I feel like I'm not actually qualified to have this conversation.
No, you still are. You still are.
Yeah. But like the extremeness of the experience I didn't have.
Right.
And I also grew up in a much more metropolitan area. Whereas a lot of my counterparts from a racial point of view kind of grew up in what we would call a lower end suburban kind of environment. So what you know as a suburb, we would know
you're right.
location or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is when we have the conversation, I kind of first need to connect the dots so that we kind of speak in
Different
that
language.
sounds fun.
But like if I feel into it, I just like it does feel different because our educational systems in and of themselves were different. So you had an educational system that ran the schooling system for white people. You had an educational system that ran the schooling system for colored people. And so you had it for Indian people, and so you had it for African people. So that separation was there in that sense.
Got it. So you wouldn't experience it because of the fact that you were in like it was like the colored people were taking care of the colored people. So you wouldn't experience like this kind of racism or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah, but you know what's interesting is that like you would like it's almost like you wouldn't really know the difference, so to speak. But that's why I wanted to like Stasia for her to share her experience because you don't know until you walk over to the other school what it's like.
Exactly,
right?
and then like that's why my only comparison is like in school up until I completed school. It was that situation. And then by the time I went to university, it was more fully integrated. So there was the system of merit that actually you had to work to earn that undergraduate, postgraduate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of my 2 layers of experience here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you never felt like you, as a black man, felt like you had to work harder to prove yourself in college. You felt like it was exactly the same.
You see, because I come from a family that actually values hard work. So like my grandfather was the principal of a school. My grandmother was the matron of a nurse. It was kind of like indicated, like you work hard to achieve things. And so in the playing field from a racial point of view at a higher educational institution was even. I didn't feel the difference. I suppose the difference I may have felt is that financial support for my studies was a different thing because I actually studied and I qualified for bursaries. And part of those bursaries were converted to student loans, which I paid off after I had completed my university. So possibly the wealth inequality there is something that I may have experienced.
What did you feel like you had to struggle for your education? That it wasn't just handed to you?
A little bit at the higher level because then it wasn't that the resources were just readily available.
Right.
And that was because the opportunities for the older generations weren't readily available. So the wealth inequality was kind of in the way life worked. So if I think about it, that's possibly where I experienced the kind of disadvantages of having had that system in our country. But from a delight the opportunity point of view, no.
Right. No. Right. Yeah. So can you go to this part of yourself that felt like he had to struggle to get his education, like really work hard to be able to afford school? What is he feeling in that space?
I kind of feel a layer of upset at God for not supporting me more.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So it's what you're desiring is support.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you choose to give yourself all that support, receive all of God's support?
Yeah.
Good. And how does that feel?
I kind of just feel more at ease.
Right. Yeah.
Because, you know, like, on a level, my hard work and my accomplishment was a sense of pride for me. And so possibly that's why I didn't actually own the fact that I felt a struggle.
Yeah.
I was actually
Yeah.
proud that I had achieved all of this through my hard work.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think about it, the feeling of the support and kind of the readily available
Mm-hmm.
thing of the finances to actually,
Yeah.
so that I didn't have to pay for it myself because I paid up. Like, I paid up all my study loans for 7 years after I started working, kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the difference, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And like, if you were to go back to the young boy who started college, and you were to say to him that God's got him completely covered, and you know, he can relax and just do his life purpose in a place of peace and learn in a place of peace, and that he didn't have to worry or struggle, how would that make him feel?
So I feel like there's like a layer of disbelief. Like, I wanted God to show up for me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Do you choose to receive God more, to accept more of God and more of God's support?
And show up for yourself more.
Amen. Mm.
Mm.
Part of that is even claiming your power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah. Mm.
Really good.
Yeah, that feels so much better. Because yeah, it's just like as I'm saying to you, I did, like, for me, I think I kind of used it as fuel to drive myself forward and not allowed the illusion of the struggle to pull me back.
Right, but you don't have to not look at an upset
Exactly. Yeah.
to heal it. You can look at that and you can say, oh, it's an upset. You can feel your feelings around it and then heal and then transform, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because it's I like to look at it this way. Upsets are like these like dark bedrooms in a big mansion you were given, and you like only see the like the living room, but then you see there's a door there and you open the door. It might be dark, but you go in there, maybe you got a flashlight, you light it up a little bit, you figure you turn the light on. It might not look pretty.
Door. There's little girl ghosts inside there. We are not opening that door.
Listen, this is your new home in God's kingdom, right? So you know that it's safe.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to open it up, you got to look at the stuff, and you got to clean up house.
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
you have a beautiful room, and your peace is expanded. Your kingdom is expanded, right? And so that's how you can look at upsets. You can just see them as places where you get to have more peace. It doesn't mean your peace is taken away. You still have your house. You still have the dining room that you had. But now you get more because you're willing to look at that upset and expand that peace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that feels so much better.
Good.
No.
How's everybody feeling? How are you feeling? Eurene, how are you feeling?
That was good. That was a beautiful feeling. Like, and thank you for sharing your experiences from South Africa. It's really interesting.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think what it brought up for me was memories from my own educational system. So I guess up until I was 18, it was like really cool, like no problem. I was in the French Caribbean. You got to choose your school. Most people have the resources to choose the school, whatever the city. It's not like a territory thing. And I had a really, really good and expanded education with equal chances, with classes with different ethnicities. So it was really like, well, the best learning experiences. And so, like through that and through artwork, I was able to go to a really good college, or the equivalent of college in France. Basically, most people from the islands like move out of their parents' house and to continental France to pursue their studies once they are like 18, between 18 and 20. So when I was 18, I moved out. And I was in the first college, and at first it was like really interesting. I was learning a lot of things. And then I started to realize that we were in this school year, like we were 5 people of color, maybe. And I was probably the girl with the darkest skin color. And yeah, it started to feel uncomfortable like really quickly. And I started to have like racist, sexist experiences, like basically classmates and even teachers that would see like the exotic side, because you had to like introduce yourself, and basically everyone knew that I was from Guadeloupe, and it felt like they only saw that and not the brains behind. So it felt like whatever I was doing, how hard I was working, I was always like brought back to this image of the Caribbean girl, some exotic object made to be pretty, or I don't even know what it was for them, but yeah. And then like when the year I left this school was pretty bad. It had gotten to a point where I was doing oral presentations, and one of the teachers like cut me off as I was like literally like quoting his curse, and he said like, you didn't learn the curse. And also it was about economic changes. Sometimes in the United States, like we were talking about Trump and Obama, and we were talking about Trump and liberalism, and he said that it's because it's Trump that I don't agree with him, but if it was Obama, I'm sure you would agree with him. And it wasn't even true, but it was like quite violent. And so, yeah, he didn't give me the grades, like enough to pass from this curse, but it got even weirder to the point where I didn't have the enough points to pass to the next year, but they still gave me like my diploma to go to another school or university. So it felt like I was forced to quit, but at the same time it was kind of a choice to not be here anymore. Like an internal choice, because it had gotten so bad and was really like not safe. I didn't feel safe. I felt like I had to struggle like really every day for the last 6 months to get good grades, like just to get good grades or to pass by.
Yeah. So, how did that the experience that you shared regarding like basically him saying, you know, well, if it was Obama,
Ray, I have a very strong feeling that
yeah,
the first layer of healing is around being objectified as the Caribbean woman. That's just like, that's really heavy for me. So I don't know how you feel about healing in that, because it really, it feels icky. It actually just feels gross. So I'm just wondering if you would like to go into that space right now, because I feel like that's the first place to go to.
Okay. Thank you, Granville. Yeah. Yeah, so you want to go to that little girl that feels objectified. It's not being seen for who she is, but rather seen for a stereotype. And how does she feel in this space?
She feels closed off, and below that, I think she feels hurt.
Yeah, and what does she need in this place to feel loved?
She needs to feel like she's seen, like she has my attention.
Yeah, do you choose to see her?
Yeah.
Yeah, how does that feel?
Like I'm finally feeling my feelings. Yeah, she feels a little bit oppressed by, you know, all the white men / teachers that she had.
Yeah. So she feels oppressed. You choose to free her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she never was, right?
Do you choose to let her know that she's a divine child of God and not an object?
Amen.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels good. It feels like the hurt is leaving.
Do you choose to let her know that she's a queen in God's kingdom?
She is. Yeah. I guess she wants to feel accepted. Like she felt really different. Really, really different.
Is she separate from her brothers and sisters?
No.
No. Do you choose to accept her?
Yeah.
Good.
Do you choose to let her know that her exoticness is exactly her beauty?
Yeah.
Are you ready to welcome her home?
I am.
You want to go ahead and do that? How do you feel in that space now?
So much peace.
Good.
Well done. That was epic. Because you know what? I kind of got involved because that was what I was led to do. So.
Amen. God moves through all of us, right? We're all here to help each other heal, right? We're not all separate. We're all one one stream of consciousness together.
No.
And wherever God flows, God flows. Amen. That was beautiful, Yureen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that was the core. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because working with you through that, I feel a lot more aligned as well.
Well, yeah, that's actually the little pop of information there. Like, that's the reason why it feels so good to be a coach, guys. Like, you heal while you're helping someone else heal. Right? That's what leaders do. You're healing with them. We just got a beat horn. But yeah.
Like the universe saying, ba 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 boom. Drum roll, please.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen. Amen.
Oh, that feels good. It does. It's like, yeah, I feel a lot more aligned as well.
Yeah. So good. Do we have anybody in the comments, any of the viewers with any information?
Any information.
Things they want to talk about, ask questions about?
So I know you were going to lead Yureen into a part of healing that I kind of interrupted a little bit because I thought the objectification was the thing that really needed to heal more. So I'm just not sure if you guys are still, like, if you feel into that space, is there still a requirement to go there?
No, because I feel like she went there.
Okay.
She went exactly to that place and went to the core of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I could ask you a question around how you see somebody telling you that your view only supported or your view only actually, you only supported somebody because of the fact that it was Barak and not somebody else.
Right.
Oh, that feels wrong. That feels like it's not the truth, but hey, I know my truth, and I know it was just an excuse to kind of gaslight me, so I know I don't have anything to prove.
Okay, but like when I ask you that question, does the memory have any emotional charge to it?
No, it doesn't. I feel like I feel that.
I felt that.
Yeah, I've been feeling that for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much like yeah, it happened like I think I knew about twin flame. I had the knowledge about twin flame like just 6 to 8 months after it happened, and it was still painful. Like I still had like some painful memories about it. So it was actually one of the first things I concentrated on. So yeah, it felt really good to go directly to the core of the healing after that. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So we have a comment from Lisi. I don't know, Ray and Anastasia, were you going to read something about a comment from somebody else before I asked?
Nope.
You go ahead.
Go right ahead. Yep, that was fun. Go read that one.
He says, I went to a high school that was very racially mixed. There were always racial tensions, but it wasn't always clear cut. Some people were more open to having real relationships with members of the other race than others on both sides. Then you had groups who wanted nothing to do with each other for various reasons. I often found myself wanting to be friends with many black people in my high school, but afraid they would not trust me. Had I known the mirror exercise, I would have mirrored this then. Yeah, so, and you know what? It's actually quite interesting that she brings up that point, because for the longest time, like when I was at university, I had the majority white and Indian friends and a small contingent of African friends, but I never really had colored friends. And
That's so funny.
and then I started being a dance teacher at some point in my life. And yeah, I had quite a few white friends. And like, you know, it never actually registered until people started saying things like, you are the only person of color in that group of people. It never actually really registered. And I'm like, if I think about it, I kind of almost have to wonder if it was also just me kind of avoiding
Right.
the truth of my race.
It could be. But
Yeah,
I feel like it was actually a good thing because I've had some group of friends like that. I think it actually means like that you see past beyond the complexion, the skin color. And that's actually a good thing because that's basically like they understand that you are wrong, you're not separate in that
yeah,
space, you know.
I don't,
And if you,
I don't
yeah, and if you didn't have like racist experiences with that group of friends, it truly means like that you did not feel separate in that space, I think.
Yeah, no, like as I'm like I'm feeling into it, and like I don't like three of my friends who are of a different race. I am the godfather to their children. So it's that kind of thing. And one of my friends who's a couple of years, she's what 49 now. So I'm 43, so she's 49. Her daughter, who's 25 years old, one day said to me, "Well, I actually wish that you were my godfather when I grew up."
Aww.
And that's the kind of thing. And yeah, she's like, she got married the other day, and we're not really allowed to have these connected functions and things like that with COVID and everything else. And she's like, well, actually, you need to be there because you are my family. And my mom's overseas and my dad's overseas, and I'm not getting married without you being there. Because and they can't be there, so it's even more important for you to be there.
Right.
Like if I feel into that, like it's interesting because I've never actually thought about being different or a different race to my friends.
Right.
We're just friends.
Right.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. That's really good.
yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to so you mentioned how someone had said, well, did you notice that you're the only colored person in our group of friends? And something that came up for Stacia and I a couple I don't know, maybe it was over the last week. We were watching an old 90s TV show, and we just saw the the black best friend, and at the end of the movie she's dating the other black guy, and they're the only two black people in the entire film. And I just looked at her and I was just that it's just the token thing, right? The token black guy, the token black girl. And this was a joke that was made throughout the 90s of you have that token black person in your friend group and it makes you cool because you have that one person, right? And I had some feelings about that because I was wow, we've come a far way, because I see Netflix and stuff like that now, shows now, and there's mixed mixed people, and there's different kinds of variations of all types of things. But one of the things for me that upset me, I was why does a black girl have to be with a black guy? What? Right? It was this whole thing, and it was why is it that you add one one or two black people to a movie, and then all of a sudden you think that that's enough, right? And so I got really upset. So I guess I could go deeper into this feeling, but it was just I got upset because I felt like my brothers and sisters weren't equally being seen, and I guess I'm kind of even mad at my upbringing for that. Ooh.
Yeah.
Just to let myself know that I'm enough, that I'm worthy.
Give yourself all the love.
better.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you that feels like he has to make up for anything in that space?
Mm. Yeah, I guess there's like a part of me that feels kind of like some guilt and shame, like, yeah, like I have to make up for the actions of the people of like my color.
And if you were to ask him what he needs to feel loved right now in order to be able to release that feeling?
Acceptance and just like to know that it's okay.
Anything else that he needs in that space?
That he's safe.
Can you give him all the safety that he needs right now? How are you feeling right now, Ray?
It was really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was really good.
Complete in that space, or is there anything more there?
No, that feels really good.
Awesome.
Healing a lot of shit here.
Yeah, we're doing good, guys.
Thank you, guys. That was really cool. And I am also, yeah, I just kind of feel a lot more grounded as well. Just going through that process.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has come up in our conversations before is obviously that feeling of kind of guilt and shame that's carried in various forms because, well, what have white people done? What can white people do? And that kind of thing. And I think what we would like to, and what we need to just kind of highlight to everybody and share is that our purpose is to bring the healing. Our purpose
Amen.
is not to point fingers at people who showed up or didn't show up. Our purpose is to bring healing into this space for literally the universe. And we are powerful healers of ourselves, and we are powerful healers of each other. And we believe that this healing is collective and timeless. So we are really excited to be doing this work with everybody.
Amen. Yeah, and I think one of the things that came up for me a lot, like as I joined this group and, you know, as a white person, like really, you know, standing in Black Lives Matter in the movement with my brothers and sisters, like, was like this like savior complex. I think a lot of white people feel like they need to save their Black brother and sister, but like that's God's job. And realistically speaking, they don't need to be saved at all because they're not in harm, right? And it's just a matter of like really everyone just loving themselves through this process and just being honest and willing to heal. That's like the key for me of what I've learned so far in like these discussions and within the movement. The best thing you can do is just be super transparent and honest and heal.
Yeah.
That's like
one of the things that's
it.
also useful is showing up for the conversation. Don't be afraid of the
Amen.
conversation.
Amen.
Show up for the conversation. This is not about, again, I'm going to go back to, it's not about pointing fingers. It's not about assigning guilt or shame or any of those things. It's about bringing maximum healing to this space because we have the power to do it.
Amen.
So one of the comments that we have from Casey is, unless it has already been talked about, COVID-19 has impacted Black people more. What is God showing us?
I think that's a thing I noticed when you guys were talking about your education systems, is that like discrimination and racism is inherently linked in some parts of the world to wealth, to
Amen.
people being poor and rich. Just because racism is just not it's not just throwing insults at someone for the skin color. It's also a system, and a system built on certain history, and also an economy and politics. Like when in the United States, like cities are gentrified
Yes.
in a way where like the minorities and the people of color are together, and in poorer parts of the city, well, like you can see how the problem is bigger than just like being verbally hateful to other people. Like it's a deep feeling of, yeah, of every parts of society. And it reminds me of what we said in the chat with Lisi, asking us what the healings, what were the healings that came up since the beginning of this conversation, and me realizing that I actually feel more flow into my LP because of the healing.
Yep.
I think it's something big, because it was like what I see in my mind is that it was like really clogged and messy, and then it retracted, and it gave me so much space and so many opportunities to just express myself, and to do what I love, and actually be rich doing what I love. And that's a funny thing. I don't know what you guys think about it, but
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that, it's interesting, and I don't want to go too much off on a tangent here, but when I was in college, I went, I talked a little bit about this in the chat. I had done a program where we went to these urban schools, were predominantly Black, 99% of the school was Black. And these sixth graders, I asked them, the first part of the program, I asked them, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of them, said hairdresser, basketball player, musician, right? These things that, like, they have role models in the world that are of their race, that are in those ways and successful, right? They didn't really know what they wanted to be. They didn't really have that feeling of life purpose. One of the little girls told me, teacher said, it's unlikely that most of you guys are going to graduate school. Most of you are going to be pregnant and drop out or go to jail, and I remember feeling so like heartbroken, right? And so we did this program. We taught them all these business skills in this after school program, and they created a business together, and they bonded and what have you. And at the end of that program, I asked the same group of kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And one was like, oh, I want to be a news anchor. And the other one's like, I want to be an accountant. I want to be a graphic designer, a fashion designer, all these different things. And one of the girls even ended up, I stayed in touch with her. She ended up going to school for anthropology.
Oh,
right?
wow.
She didn't even know what anthropology was. But one of the exercises was for us to like encourage them to go look at, different colleges and things like that, even though they all thought that they were never going to be able to go to college, right? And there's something to this like belief, like when you heal the upsets around like feeling not worthy or not supported, which is what we've been healing, the result is always like you get that support. And that direct support pushes you through to your life purpose, which is what you kind of referenced, Irene. I think that that's really beautiful. That like, through claiming that support, through having this kind of healing, we can create that space for, all children, including, our Black children, to be able to grow into what they want to become and that our education systems support them and such. So yeah, like I'm really proud and happy of the healing we did today, guys. It's really good.
So true. And it's a true miracle, you know, for everyone, because like this work, because like I think many kids say to themselves like or would say when they would grow up, I didn't even know that I could do that I could be that I could be myself, that I was allowed to dream that big, to, you know. And so yeah, it's all the work of life purpose class, but I think it shows even more when people have been like representing the media with really like one-dimensional characters or tokens, and they finally learn that they are free to be more than that. They are free to be complex beings. They are free to just express freely.
Yeah, and you know, I think that the nice thing is like we didn't expect the expansion of this conversation. And answering the call for the expansion of this conversation is another layer to unlocking your life purpose. We are purposefully doing this work, and we didn't get called into doing this work by accident. How's everybody feeling now?
So good.
Good. Yeah, so we're just about on an hour. So I think I also feel like today's conversation is complete in this space, and I'm just wanting to check in with everybody if you feel the same way.
Yep.
Yeah, it feels complete. It feels really good.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you for everybody who has commented and given us feedback in the live stream as well. Yeah, we're gonna for today complete our conversation and round it off, and we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye
Bye.